Welcome to US Tzu Chi 360. I'm Ginger Chang. Today we present the third part on Pick Up America. We have the director Wen Ren as our special guest. Hi Wen.
Hello.
So during the 8 days of filming, one of the crew members had mentioned the road is magical. Why is the road magical?
Yes, it truly is magical. They call themselves lost tourists, these young people who face a foreign landscape every day, and they meet people who give them food, shelter, donations, and they sometimes find even romance.
Wow.
3 of the trash gypsies, they all found these amazing girls on the road who have this shared love for each other, but also for our planet. So there's truly something magical in that.
So they didn't expect to find true love out on the road?
Definitely not while picking up trash.
Wow, okay. Well, Pick Up America has also made education on sustainability another key element to inspiring our nation towards zero waste.
It's ridiculous. We take raw materials out of the ground, we refine them, we manufacture them, we transport them, we put them in your hands, you use it once, and you throw it in a landfill. A landfill is just a place where we dump the packaging that we use. I think at some point, further down the line, we might be mining our landfills for resources.
Litter pickup is a complete waste of time if you don't address the real issue of why there is litter and how do we reduce litter. How do we refuse all of this extra stuff in our lives? Litter pickup is a complete waste of time if we don't do the education for the younger people.
250,000? Let's see. 2.5 million.
Really the biggest goal for me is to try to educate people, because I think that's where the change really begins.
That many plastic bottles could wrap around the planet twice. And that's how many plastic bottles we use every hour.
I just hope that people listen once it's all done. Look beyond the fact that we're just picking up trash and look at our actual message, which is, zero waste.
We were with a woman named Marty, who was with a group called EcoCycle. And what this is an idea called zero waste that we're walking across the country trying to encourage.
When you think about climate change, you think about smokestacks and tailpipes. But we're missing a major source of the greenhouse gas emissions, and that is your trash can. We look at what's in the garbage can and we think, what are we going to do with it? We have to figure out how to make it go away. So we look at landfilling it or incinerating it as the answer. The EPA has a statistic that the way we consume and extract and dispose of our resources is leading to 42% of the greenhouse gases produced. What we're doing here with zero waste is addressing a significant chunk of our climate crisis issue.
We're talking about the waste of this lunch. So this is an extremely wasteful lunch that we have right here, and this is what most of our school lunches look like still across this country. There's going to be more things going to a landfill than more things nourishing us in this meal.
The packaging that stuff comes in lasts way longer than the actual product itself. 99% of what comes into our hands is in the trash can within 6 months.
And that's it. It's produced to be trash. Plastic straws are a complete waste. They are not made to be recyclable, and they aren't really recyclable. Our arch nemesis right here, straws. We hate these things. If I can leave you guys with one thing from this presentation, I just want you all to remember that straws make you suck.
My brother manufactures straws for a living. I pick up straws off the ground for a living. Or not for a living, but that's what I do. It's such a weird contrast, As long as these straws are going to be manufactured, I'm going to pick them up. It's this endless cycle of plastic extracted and refined and then turned into these straws for 5 minutes of use, and then I pick them up off the ground.
The plastic bag's not going to be recycled either. That's going to end up in a landfill.
Alright, this is what we pick up every single day. It's just single-use stuff, mostly styrofoam.
Every time we see this, it's just sitting right here as opposed to right here. What's the big difference between this and this? This is produced to go straight into the trash can, into the landfill. The Pacific Gyre is a place in the middle of the Pacific Ocean just north of Hawaii where plastic waste has been building up for years now, and it's over the size of Texas by now. And in this area of the ocean, plastic outweighs living organisms by 6 to 1.
In the picture, it's just, you know, this albatross that has ate too much plastic. They mistake plastic as food and eat too much of it and they die. And when they decay, you can really see what's inside their stomachs, and it's plastic.
That's what we've been doing through this trip, is pulling the waste into our people's eyes, into our point of view, and so that we have to see it and we have to be held accountable for it.
By default, you don't get a trash can. By default, you get a recycling bin and a compost bin and even a reuse bin. Then you have a bin for whatever's left. You look in that bin and say, what is in there? And you take it back to the manufacturer and say, redesign your product so that at the end of its life, it's going to go in one of these bins.
It's called corporate social responsibility. It's called being accountable for all this waste that you've created.
Because they don't want to change. It's whatever's cheap to them, right?
You know how many Dasani water bottles I've found that have the green plant bottle sign on it?
If you're going to put the recycling symbol on a bottle, you better make sure that bottle is recycled.
The next generation and the current generation of 7 billion people will rely on those resources to survive.
You should really question what you're doing for my generation. You're taking resources from me, my generation.
You have this bottle and you use it once and you return it and then it gets reused again. It's not produced just to be trash. It's produced to be maximize its use as a material.
EcoCycle created the first of its kind Center for Hard to Recycle Materials, or CHARM as we call it. The CHARM is designed to take as many unusual materials as we can possibly find markets for.
I think that zero waste is one of the most important ideas to develop.
Well, our very last day of picking up here in eastern Colorado, I found these 3 Mountain Dew cans, all on the same day. And on the back it says all aluminum can, and on the top it says don't litter, please recycle, do not litter. And then this one's a little more recent. It has the pull tab, and it doesn't say anything about aluminum, but it does say don't litter on the top. And then this one, I can tell is from 2001. On this, there's nothing about aluminum being a resource. And there's nothing about the fact that you shouldn't be littering this. And it's not that we're moving people away from what they're used to, this idea of zero waste and seeing what our resources are. We're just moving people back to what we used to consider before we became so disposable.
All through my childhood, you know, my parents are like, you know, don't waste things, don't buy things you don't need. Take a short shower, you don't need to waste that water. When my dad was your age, he grew up in Taiwan. He said when he walked to school, he didn't wear his shoes on his feet. He wore them on his shoulders because he didn't want to wear out the treads because he was poor, you know. So he didn't have money to buy new shoes, so he would wear them on his shoulders instead. So he didn't waste things. And I guess I kind of grew up with the same ethic. You know, what was it like to go from Taiwan to this country and, you know, go through grad school and then raise me for, you know, 20-some years, put me through college, and I get a degree, and what I do when I come out is pick up trash.
Finally, there's a generation who's saying, we are not going to do this in our generation. We're going to do this differently. And that's how I see Pick Up America, as just going themselves outside their back door. Instead of typing on their computer, instead of just writing letters, we're going to go down the road, we're going to pick up everything we see. Litter that is just a graphic example of where we've gone wrong.
This critical moment in time, we need the hard work. We need to put that effort in.
I first met Jeff a few years ago when he was an intern at High Country News, so quite honestly, when I heard that Jeff was going to go across the country and pick up litter, you know, to me that did seem like a little bit like, wait a minute, what, did we teach this guy anything? I mean, come on, you're gonna go pick up litter when there's much bigger problems.
When you get one person to think about litter, I think that is a success.
You know, this is the way things get done. I mean, you know, and that's what I've realized when I hear about how much garbage he's picked up, like hundreds of thousands of pounds of garbage.
I'm really grateful, and EcoCycle is really grateful for organizations like Pick Up America. That makes us feel like, okay, the momentum is building, we're getting somewhere.
So Wen, what have you learned from this trip?
Well, it doesn't take a scientist or a genius to realize our climate was very different 50 years ago and will be drastically different 50 years from now. I mean, this Christmas was definitely the warmest Christmas in my memory.
Wow.
So in terms of the trip, it made me see trash, which is a huge thing, to just see the trash. And you learn the mantra of reduce, reuse, and recycle.
I see. Then can you give us an example?
Sure. I was actually at 85 Degrees, a very popular Taiwanese bakery. And when I went in there, they gave me a box and then wrapped every piece of bread in plastic. And plastic is horrible. So I said, no plastic. And then the cashier said something amazing to me. She said, thank you for saving the world. And you know, I guess I hope that another customer saw it would also refuse this invisible, non-biodegradable trash.
Right. Well, that's really sweet of the worker. Okay, well, having said this, let's go find out more on the severity of the climate crisis.
And there's other forms of energy called non-renewable, which means they're not coming back forever, and we know that already. And coal is one of those examples. There's also petroleum, which is what we make our gasoline out of, and natural gas. Those are fossil fuels. It means they come from deep down underground, and there's a definite amount under there. And so we're running out of that stuff pretty quick.
I think within my generation, we might see peak oil. Some say that we've already hit peak oil. You know, we've used up so much of this oil.
We know we can reduce consumption because when we compare the amount of energy that we use compared to, say, Germany or France or Japan, we use like twice as much at least.
The government is suppressing the price of gas.
So it says in US the nationwide average was $3.53 per gallon on Thursday. The Irish, the Germans, the Italians, and the French pay somewhere between $7.50 and $8. The Greeks paid $8.45, but in Oslo they paid $9.28 a gallon. Prices are incredibly high in Europe because of the stiff taxes that the EU countries put on fuel. When they had a plastic bag tax in Washington, D.C., people drastically reduced the number of plastic bags they used, even though it was a 5-cent tax.
Compared to other nations, we've dropped the ball. You can't get anywhere.
So almost every other country in the world sees the need to kickstart this green revolution.
The oil companies have been pushing for a pipeline to come down all the way from Alberta, Canada.
They're going to take this oil that takes 3 times more carbon emissions to extract and refine.
I mean, you can't run a pipeline from Canada to Texas without causing some pretty severe impacts.
They already have a pipeline called the Keystone, which has leaked 12 times over the last 12 months. And so now they're going to go build one that's XL.
Just yesterday, there was an earthquake in Oklahoma where the pipeline would be. Just imagine if the pipeline was there already.
Pipelines leak, they explode, you know, they break, they're a safety hazard.
Almost across the board, environmental scientists have said that if the tar sands are tapped into, pretty much it'll be a game over. It's been said that building the Keystone XL pipeline is the ticking climate bomb of our future.
On November 6th, 12,000 people from all across the country came and circled the White House multiple times.
Never before have I seen over 10,000 people going to DC and encircling the White House like that.
The sun has always come up, and the wind has always blown, and the tides have always changed. And so those are forms of energy that we can harness if we choose to.
And I think we need to move towards solar and wind and geothermal energies, because those are renewable resources.
The big one, I think, is wind. That's the one that's increasing the most in the United States right now and across the world. Once you got a wind turbine up, it's free. But when I see the wind turbines out there in the distance, like with the light reflecting off them, especially kind of on a cloudy, snowy day, you know, it's different. It's sort of like a Cristo art installation on a landscape, maybe. And each one of them has the capacity to power like 1,000 homes.
And there has been quite a bit of a detachment in our society alone. And that's what's causing people like us to have to come out and do things like this, is because a lot of people don't care about our environment. A lot of people don't care about the planet or giving us a nice, healthy planet to survive in.
We keep track of how many students we've talked to. We've talked to over 7,000 students.
We've held more than 60 media events, you know, art events in some major cities. And we've come 2,000 miles across the country, picked up 145,000 pounds of litter. I don't think we'll know our true impact on the students that we've talked to. I remember when I was in college, a bus came through and it was painted crazy colors, and this group of young people just came through our university with the bus, and they got to park it in the middle of the campus, and people got to talk to them. I thought that was so cool. It kept that in the back of my mind, and now that's kind of what we're doing.
Scientists say we may have fewer than 10 years to deal with the climate crisis issue.
In any case, the way it's going right now, whether it's 10 years or 50 years, we're in trouble because we're not curbing our oil consumption very well, and we're not doing a good job of replacing it.
A lot of people believe that what's going to happen is people are going to start fighting each other for those resources. Now, I believe something very different. I believe just like when we have a snowstorm and we can't drive around, people come out of their homes and start talking with each other. I am hopeful for that collapse.
So, do I have hope? I have a lot of hope because our solutions are already here. We don't have to study them. They're here right now, and all we have to do is have the willpower to implement them.
You know, I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't think we were making an impact, and I didn't think that there was a chance for the world.
And that's why we're all out here and devoting our time, years of our lives for no money at all, just to try to make it happen.
Personally, I'm kind of scared of I'm definitely scared of what's to come.
It's not looking good.
Hope for the future. I don't know. You know, if we continue to keep losing topsoil through agriculture practices, keep blowing up mountains for coal, keep drilling thousands of feet into the earth for natural gas, if we keep destroying our water sources, if we keep extracting oil at the rate we are right now, I don't think I have hope. I think we're seeing the collapse of society, and we're watching it on our HD TVs. I'm not sure that I have hope for the future, but you know, at least we're trying. And at least we're having fun.
All right, this song's for David. I was born by the river in a little town, and just like the river, I've been running ever since. It's been a long time coming, but I know the change is gonna come. Oh, yes, it will. When I go to the movies, when I go downtown, somebody keep telling me, boy, you better not stick around. A long time coming, but I know the change is gonna come. I'm with a group called Pick Up America. We're traveling across the country picking up trash.
We'll be coming back out to Last Chance, Colorado, to this very Dairy King that we're sitting in front of, probably around late May to finish our Colorado portion of our walk over the Rockies.
Next year we're going through the American West, and we're going to be facing a couple of climate issues because we're going through the Rockies and we're going through the desert. We're hoping to make it to California by the fall and have a big, celebration at the end. Maybe a 5-day long zero waste party.
It's
the Mighty Ducks thing.
I think it's a big
Mighty Ducks.
It's
a flying V.
Yeah, it's a big hug.
It's a big hug.
It's Batman. So, what are you guys gonna do over winter?
Welcome back. So Wen, after their third year, what kind of impact do you think they'll make on society?
When they arrive in San Francisco, I'm sure people will ask, what have they actually accomplished? Now, they're the young people, they might not have the answers.
Right.
But the scientists, the politicians, the adults, they do. As Marty said, the answers are already here. So people need to realize now that I see this trash,
exactly.
Will I continue to contribute to this waste, or will I finally transform into zero waste, a world without a trash can? So people need to ask that simple question of why do we even have trash?
Well, through your experience, I hope our viewers are just as inspired as you have been. Thank you for coming on board.
Thank you.
In our next segment, Footprints, we introduce you to Annie Chow. Annie became a vegetarian out of compassion and respect for all life forms and the environment. However, when she told her mom about the meat-free diet, her mom didn't think her daughter was serious.
In high school, I always remember my friends and I, we liked eating at good steakhouses, really good Japanese food and Chinese food. And I would always bring my parents to these restaurants to let them try these new foods. So when I decided to become vegetarian, my mom was very shocked.
When she came back from Hualien, she told us she decided to become a vegetarian. I honestly didn't take her words seriously and thought perhaps she would only do it for 2 months, but she still insisted on eating vegetarian after a year.
I made that decision after listening to a lot of masters' teachings and doing more research myself. So after 2 years, my sister went to Hualien Tzu Chi camp and made a wish to become vegetarian too. And so at this time, my sister and I are both vegetarians. And when we would go out to eat dinner with family friends, my sister and I would be eating salad and vegetables, and my mom and dad would be eating like lobster and like fish and steak.
My husband and I still ate meat and fish, so I really felt guilty to my 2 daughters. Later on, I thought we should become vegetarians at our ages. If young people could do it, then we can too.
So my mom made a wish to become vegetarian too. My dad became vegetarian by force.
She often reminds my husband, "Dad, you should be more like Mom and become vegetarian. Do not eat meat anymore."
At home, my mom wouldn't make any more meat dishes. And so at home, my dad will always be vegetarian. Now I'm trying to remind my dad more, like when he's outside, to be vegetarian too. I'm very happy that they became vegetarian. It was never something that I wished for in the beginning, but as a family now that we're all vegetarian together, we're much closer to, and we all feel much better and healthier. And it's something that Master has wanted us to take into our daily lives. It's definitely a very positive thing for my family.
USA Today reports that many nutrition experts say that vegetarianism is growing popularity amongst young people. I'm Ginger Chang, thank you, and I'll see you next time.